Hello and welcome back on my channel. Today I'm going to explain to you why Git is not the same thing as GitHub. So it's quite simple. There's one thing called Git and there's one thing called GitHub. They're not the same thing. I'm going to talk about both of them, but first I will talk about Git. Git is basically the most popular version control system or distributed version control system, and it's estimated that around 95% of all programmers use it, so you need to know it. Well, what is it? I'm glad you asked. Basically, it's just that you can store your code in versions locally on your computer. So for example, it's like when you have a Word file and you write something, you type something in, and then you save it. And then you type more text, and then you save it again. So you have two versions. And now when you code, you have like 100 versions sometimes, and you can then go back. So basically, if you, along the way of your journey and typing in something into Word, writing a text, you can always go back to the previous version if you make an error without losing anything. And the beauty of it is that it's locally installed on your computer. It's a software. If you have the Mac OS system or Linux system, it's already pre-installed. If you have the Windows system, you need to download the software. So I want to now show you how you can apply it in practice. So for that, we're going to my computer screen and we type in terminal. So the terminal opens up like we learned last video, and we're going to cd onto desktop, and then here we are going to make a new directory, which basically just means we're going to create a new folder, a new directory called test. We're going to do that and plop, here it is. The new folder test was created. So we're going to cd right into this folder, and here we're going to do the first thing. We are going to use the term touch to create new files. For example, we could create a file called test text, and here if you open up the folder you can see there is a new file called test text. Of course, we want to create now two other files, the main.py file, and let's call it the index.py file. And now we have a folder with some files in it, and we want to now save them. Well, what are we going to do? We're going to use Git. You guessed right. So we use the term git init, and what this term does, it creates an empty Git repository as stated here in this text, and it's initialized in this folder. If you're going to open up the folder, you cannot see that there is a Git repository now inside. You would have to show the hidden files in this directory, and you can see here a git.git folder was created. And now we want to save everything that is inside of this folder, so we use the term git add, and then we could just add main.py if we just want to save one file. But that's rarely the case. I mean, if you have a folder full of documents in 99.9%, you want to save everything that is inside of this directory. So what we're going to do is we say git add and then add just a point. So that means we mean everything that is inside of this folder. Then we use the term git commit, which basically means, okay, everything that we selected, we added, we want to commit to the repository. So we are going to write git commit and then this little flag and the M for message, and we can name something. So I would say what I always do is like first commit. That makes it clear, okay, this was our first save. If we do that, it's now committed. So there are like those 3 files that got changed. So they got added to the repository. If we want to look up what is inside of our saves, basically you just type in git log. So it logs, as the term already suggests, everything that was committed. If we make now a change, so we say, for example, remove index.py. So if we list the things that are inside the folder, then you can see the file we created, index.py, was removed. And now we want to git add again and git commit again with the message removed the file index.py. Oh, forgot the last sign. So here you can see we added another commit and we make git log again. So you can see here is the second entry into the log that we just committed. So this is basically everything I wanted to tell you and you need to know about Git. Use it when you're coding. Always initialize a new repository, and then basically everything is saved. So we're going to clear again. Bam. So now we talked about Git. Git is a software. And on the other hand, there's GitHub. GitHub is a website. What it essentially is a developer platform where you can share, collaborate, store your repositories, so your code. And there you can use code from other people and download it and upload your code, and you can share with each other and collaborate. So it's an extremely useful platform, especially if you want to collaborate with other coders and programmers. So now I'm going to show you how it looks like. I could bore you now with a lot of other code in the terminal, but I would say the easiest way to essentially use GitHub is basically with the GitHub desktop. And this is the current software that is now open. So we still have the test folder, which is behind here, and we have there a Git repository initialized. So we want to now share it with the whole world. How are we going to do that? So we have GitHub desktop, and we just go here up to the current repository, and here is a little button called add. So what we are going to do, we could create a new repository, but we have already an existing one, and this is what we're going to use. So I choose shortly the path here on test, and I open it and I add the repository. If I make now another change, which would show up here, I can do that shortly. So we pull up terminal and go back to the desktop and then into the test. So we are going to add another touch index py file, and we are going to add that, or we're not going to add that, we're going to here we are. So it automatically noticed this change, and we can commit here. So we can say we created a new file, and we commit that, and then we can publish it. So here it's going to ask, obviously, well, what's the name of the repository? Let's call it a test repo. Description doesn't matter. We want to publicize it, and here you go. It takes a while, and boom, it's now online. So if I'm going to show you now the beautiful GitHub page of mine. If you want to follow, you can. And if we are going to update this page, you can see a new repo was uploaded. So we have now here this test repo where we have those 3 files. Obviously nothing is inside of these files, but you get it. I mean, they're now on GitHub. And that's extremely useful. Obviously there are much more tools you can use here inside of GitHub, but basically this is the very basics, and you need to know that if you have anything to do with programming, because this is very useful and is extremely important. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned a little bit about the difference between Git and GitHub. And if you liked the video, please consider giving it a thumb up. It really helps the channel out. And consider subscribing to my channel. And I see you next week. Goodbye.